little presentation here. And then Mary, I can see you. Can you see the screen? Give me a thumbs up. Awesome. All right. So, and then feel free to ask anything in the chat. I got the chat pulled up as well. I like when the chat lights up. So this is like my whole thing. One of my biggest mentors said, success is not a knowledge problem, it's an implementation problem. In this day and age, we can find how to do anything at all. But why do we walk around pissed off and frustrated? Because we don't implement consistently. I mean, think about that. That's a human conundrum. We know what to do. We just don't do it on a consistent basis, whether it's real estate, whether it's sales, whether it's health, whether it's wealth, whatever it is. So this is where mindset fitness for me comes in. And I always ask people, how are you? And it's amazing. I can't wait for live events again. And Mary, I can't wait to do a live event. But when we do get there, I ask people, how are you? And this is what people say. Been better. Not dead yet. That's one of my favorites. It's unbelievable how we program ourselves every single second of every single day and how we don't understand what effect that has on us, our brain, our body, our family, our kids, our relationships, everybody. So whenever I say, how are you? I try and I intend to say, I am great. Even if I don't feel great, I can trick myself neurochemically to feel better simply by the things that I think. And I'm going to prove that to you. I'm an implementational speaker. I don't care if people are motivated or inspired. Doesn't matter to me one bit. What I want people to do is implement something today. And I'm going to give you a wide range of things to do. I just want people to implement one thing today. And then tomorrow, one thing tomorrow. Not 10 things, not 20 things. You'll hear me say this over and over again. The universe will not reward scale. It doesn't give a crap about scale. It will only care about consistency. Okay. And then if you like what you hear and you learn something, part of my mission is to help solve the world's happiness problem. So I know that the more that this message gets out there, we got a happiness problem. We're sicker than we've ever been, and we're taking more pills than we've ever taken. How can that be? There's a suicide every 40 seconds. We got a happiness problem. So I think there are things to do without cutting, drugging, or radiating that can bring happiness to people's lives. So when we look at this, I have an entire book. It's called A Life Worth Smiling About. It's about an entire business book about when we smile, how many neurochemicals are released and all these types of things on the brain, how many muscles we use in our face. So I always ask people, what's the biggest muscle or organ in the body, or what's the most powerful muscle or organ in the body? And people tell me the heart, they tell me the legs, the shoulders, are all the arteries that we have. And I still have it behind me. If anybody knows who Napoleon Hill was, he wrote a little book called Think and Grow Rich. And he had a mentee called Earl Nightingale. And Earl Nightingale was called the Dean of Self-Development. The Dean of Self-Development says, our brain is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. The most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. So if the Dean of Self-Development tells me that my brain is that powerful, I'm not going to question that guy. I'm simply going to learn how to condition it and program it. Now, we know this already. We just don't think about it enough. We know this through a placebo effect. Two people are ill, one person gets medicine, one person gets a sugar pill, both are healed. Well, the person taking the sugar pill, what's doing the healing? This 6 inches right here, let's call it the most valuable real estate that we got, for a real estate pun. Hypochondriacs, the people who think they're sick all the time, and then guess what? They get sick. Because what are they talking about? I'm sick. We can create what we want, and what we're doing, in my opinion, is too much, is we're creating disease. We are creating stress. We're firing and wiring stress hormones without even thinking about it. Also, we know this through quote unquote stress. Let's call it what it is. It's fear. When I call it fear, I appear weak. When I call it stress, I'm a hard worker. So we label it to justify to ourselves, especially in high commission or commission only positions, such as agents or brokers. So it's not stress, it's fear. Let's call it what it is so we can start to have power over it instead of it having power over us. Now, there's one, we also know this through elderly couples. People lived in great health for 90 years. One passes away, the other one passes away. Well, why? What are they thinking about? Death, loneliness, despair, heartache, sadness, over and over again, every single second of every single day. So I ask you, do you think that has an effect on my cells, on my body, on my brain, on my overall health and wellness? And the answer to that is absolutely, positively yes. Now, there's one all natural antidote. And the great thing is I don't have to take anything for it. I don't have to shoot anything for it. I don't have to drug myself for it. It's free. It's in limitless supply. Anybody can have it. And it's so simple that people overlook it. And this is just simple gratitude. And I'm not talking about gratitude from a positive thinking standpoint. I'm talking about gratitude from a neurochemical standpoint, a biological standpoint, and what's actually happening underneath my skin and in my cells. People think energy comes from the outside in. It doesn't. It comes from the inside out. So I'm going to show you a little template here on how to use this that goes far, far, far beyond just positive thinking. Okay. So one thing that drove me nuts when the world was open, I haven't been on a plane in 10 months. I used to be gone. I live in LA. I used to be gone more than I was here. But as the world is, which I believe is the greatest time in human history to be alive, because we will never have a time to acquire new skills, expand our minds to what's possible in life and business, more opportunity, and the opportunity to grow relationships. As a realtor, there has never been a better time, in my opinion, to grow relationships with a client base and grow a client base than right now. But as what drove me nuts, when I would get on a plane, I can sleep like a baby. So I get my aisle seat, I get my little neck pillow, and I'd be out. And you know how they dim on a red-eye flight, they dim the lights. So I could sleep like a baby. And I'm going to apologize in advance for people who have children. But the thing that drove me nuts when I would start to fall asleep was the screaming baby behind my ear on the plane. Like it would, to the point where, like, again, I'm going to apologize to people who have children, but I was like, somebody shut that baby up or I'm going to freaking shut it up. It drove me nuts. It stressed me out. But really what I was fearful that I wouldn't get the sleep that I needed, that I would wake up tired. I wouldn't be able to perform when I got to New York, Miami, Boston, whatever the cross country flight was. So it drove me nuts and it would stress me out because I would be fearful. And then when I learned about self-accountability, I said, the baby's not stressing me out. I'm stressing me out. So I re-engineered and reassigned the meaning of what that experience meant to me. I just reevaluated the interpretation and how I interpreted it. So what I did was I wrote a gratitude poem. And this is something that has changed my life, not from a positive thinking standpoint, from a neurochemical standpoint. Now people say, Ricky's just that way. Ricky's just positive. Ricky's just positive in every situation. No, asshole, I work on it every day. I put in the work to have my brain trained to think a certain way. So what I did was I said, I am grateful for the screaming baby on the plane because it means that I can hear. And I thought of all the deaf people that wouldn't be able to hear that screaming baby and how much they would kill to have the ability to hear that screaming baby. And here I am bitching and complaining about it. And I'm taking my hearing for granted, something that so many people in the world don't have. And here I have it and I'm taking it for granted. So when I assign that meaning, I'm grateful, period, for the screaming baby on the plane, period, because it means I can hear, period. Everything changes. The perception changes. I literally change the event because my perception changes. Now, I cannot be grateful and fearful at the same time. My brain cannot allow it. I cannot walk to my left and my right at the same time. It's not possible. It's not physical. I can't draw a square circle. Okay, there are limits to this universe. That's one of them. I can't be grateful and fearful at the same time. So that means every single second of every single day, whether we like it or not, know it or not, or admit it or not, we choose gratitude or fear. So I started writing a gratitude poem. And these are the things that people are usually bitching and complaining about.
Oh, good.
And I re-engineered them. So when I feel that, I will feel biochemically, neurochemically, and biologically on a different way.
So Dad
Dad
wants to come up with us. So I think we'll go get dinner somewhere
Hoffman,
up there.
Mary?
We'll bring both cars. Dad doesn't want to stay the whole time with us. So we'll have dinner with Dad. Then we'll go to Sam's Club. Get the
Linda, if you can hear me, I think you're unmuted. Linda Hoffman. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So now the second side of this is the easy side. I am grateful for my mom, my dad, and Ceci because they show me a great way to live and a great way to love. That's my mom, my dad, and my sister. I am grateful for the opportunities I've created because they teach me how to grow and take risks. These are the easy things. So I had to think of an attitude of gratitude for Thanksgiving because this is what happens on Thanksgiving. Everybody's grateful for this. Everybody's grateful for that. Everybody's grateful for that. And then the next day it stops. And that drives me nuts. So I had to think of an attitude of gratitude for Thanksgiving. Okay. So one of the things that I usually like to do is I like to stop the share here. And I want somebody, if you have, I don't know if you can unmute yourself. If you can, I want somebody to tell me what it is that drives you up the wall. And we're going to do a real-time exercise on how to convert energy from negative to positive. So I know sometimes it's a little bit of a smaller group. Sometimes it can be a little nervous to speak up. Who's got something that they want to share that drives them up the wall? Anybody want to share? Who's coming with me? Anybody at all?
Sure, I'll jump in.
Okay, awesome.
I'm
What
Grace
drives you
Coppola.
nuts?
Yes, I'm Grace, and what drives me nuts is coming home after being out all day and finding a sink full of dishes, pots and pans on the stove, the countertop disgusting, and of course, that's not how I leave my house in the morning. But after being out 10 hours a day, it's the last thing I want to find because I can't start cooking unless I clean. Therefore, that is it for me.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Grace, for volunteering, and I really appreciate it. Okay, so let's take this in real time. And I will show you my gratitude poem again. My college roommate would eat oatmeal, and he wouldn't clean the dish. And when oatmeal dries, it's like cement. It would dry. I would literally take the dish and throw it in the woods because I didn't want to clean it because it took so long. So let's look at this. So the first thing you said is, when I come home, I am grateful because I have a home. There are a lot of homeless people out there, right? I am grateful for their dirty dishes to clean and scrub because it means I have enough to eat. I am grateful for the opportunity to share how important this is to me. So maybe somebody can take care of that before I get home. There's opportunity in so many things that, and the other thing I used to hate was taking out the garbage. So when I took out the garbage, I would start thinking of all the things that I wanted to do in my life. So as literally I was doing that, my brain didn't go, oh, I don't want to take out the garbage. It would literally go to, I'm working on this, I'm excited about this, but I had to work on it every day. So right as we're saying that, and this is a 3-part thing for me, I'm grateful, period. The thing that wants to drive you up the wall, period, because seed of equivalent benefit. Napoleon Hill called there's a seed of equivalent benefit, a silver lining, whatever label we want to give it, to everything. He didn't say there was a seed of equivalent benefit when it's all rainbows and ice cream. He said there's a seed of equivalent benefit to everything, no matter what, unequivocally and undoubtedly. So the dishes, I can totally identify with that, because that and the trash drove me nuts. So for me, and this is just an example, you guys can use it however you want, but I am grateful, period, for the dirty dishes that I have to clean and scrub, period, because it means my family has enough to eat. If it is something that you want to implement, I am grateful, period, because it's an opportunity to explain for someone to help me. I don't know if it's a husband or a kids or whatever it is, because it's an opportunity to share how we can create win-wins. So we can go to this, whoever it is, the kids or whatever it is, and say, I would love if you could do this, and if you can't, I can do this. Make it conditional. So, and again, we're doing this in like literally 2 seconds, but I would take whatever drives you nuts and find the seed of equivalent benefit. Just diving down that rabbit hole changes you neurochemically. You do it once, you change that moment. You do it a couple times a day, you change that day. You do it every day, you change that week. You do it every day of the month, you change that month. You see where I'm going. And as we do the things that aren't related to business, when we start training our brain to think this way, now our business can scale. Now we carry an energy and an aura around us that people want to be a part of. And the mind controls the business without question, in my opinion. So hopefully that little like model helped a little bit, but that was a game changer for me. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my screen. All right. And let me see if it's right here. Grace. So I am grateful for all the dirty dishes to clean and scrub because it means I've had enough to eat. That drove me absolutely up the wall. And what it did was it helped with my accountability. This is a way to put my happiness on me, not on anybody else, not on any of their circumstance, not on anything else. Because when we look at accountability, there's a responsibility. And when you hyphenate that word, it's your ability to choose your response. So it's not about what happens to us. It's about how we choose to respond. And that is our choice. We get to choose every single second of every single day. That's where I believe true accountability comes. There's an inner world, there's an outer world. I can't control what goes on out there. I sure as hell can control what goes on in here. It's the one thing I got control on, the things that I think about. And I'm going to prove that the things that you think about will affect every organ and cell in your body. Okay. Now, this is where whenever I consult for companies, it always comes down for one thing or another, health and wellness. For whatever reason, I have a pretty drastic before and after picture. I'm happy to send it to you guys. But I was about 260 pounds. Let's just say I was a husky dude and there was a lot of me to love, okay? And then I learned about acidity and alkalinity. And that's a whole nother keynote. And I think gratitude is the best antioxidant. There's anti-aging is $330 billion a year, okay? You want anti-aging from the inside out? Get grateful. To me, that is the #1 antioxidant. And you can actually get that poem if you want to go to gratitudepoem.com. You can download that poem for free. And Mary just, I think I did this at the other one, but in terms of people always asking me about the cleanse, I will send that cleanse out for free. It's something that changed my biology for sure. So if anybody's into the health and wellness, I'm happy to share those things. Now, this is why people, for whatever reason, always link back after mindset, prosperity planning, and then they always ask me about health and wellness. So in that health and wellness arena, now people want to lose weight and be healthy. So what do we got to do? We got to eat well and work out. This is not rocket science, okay? Not rocket science. Now, if I eat like crap and I don't work out, guess what happens? I'm going to be fat and unhealthy. I am not here to be politically correct, and I am not here to be nice. I am here to raise awareness and change behavior to get us as a society and humanity to get to where we want to go and help solve the world's happiness problem, okay? So we're fat and unhealthy. So is knowledge power? Well, we know what to do, but we're one of the most obese countries in the world. So knowledge isn't power, we know what to do. Knowledge is potential power if we set ourselves up in the emotional state that will lead us to this action. For example, if I choose to put myself in an inspired state, I want to lose weight, I want to be healthy, to create vitality, I want to set the bar of vitality for my children to live and see my grandchildren's children, or to whatever it is, have more energy in my business, whatever it is, I put myself in that inspired state. More chances than not, I'm going to take the action to get the result that I want, okay? Now, if I put myself in an uninspired state, and I say, man, it would be hard to work out, I don't know, I'm gonna get sore, I'm probably not going to enjoy it, I'm not going to take the actionable item that I need to because my emotional state is hot garbage, okay? Now, this is what happens, and this is why my business blows up right now every year, is because January 1st hits or December 31st hits, and then guess what? People are going to run 20 miles a day at 5 a.m., they're going to eat lettuce, and then they're going to meditate for 3 hours a day. That's everybody's new health plan. The universe will not reward scale, it will reward consistency, okay? So, now, when people rely on willpower, and let's just say they've been grinding it out, I'm grinding it out, and we've been doing it for 4 weeks. Now, when we get to 4 weeks and the willpower will run out, it's an exhaustible resource, and that alarm, like it's nice, everybody does this in January, so it's cold, dark outside in the morning, it's nice and warm underneath my blanket, it's cold and dark, I've been doing this for a month, getting up at 5 a.m., it's nice and warm. After a month, that alarm clock hits 500 and those red numbers, and it goes, chances are people are going to say, screw it right here. They're going to be like, no way. But if I choose to think how I'm going to feel after the workout, I choose to feel how accomplished I feel after the workout, now I will feel an inspired state. So the thoughts that I think are going to lead to an emotional state. This is undeniable every time because of the chemicals that we release in our brain. Every single thought, whatever is it, 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day, every single one of them is going to carry a chemical. That chemical is going to make us feel good. It's not going to make us feel good. One or the other. So the thoughts that we think are going to lead to how we feel. This is transactional. The action and the results are transactional. This is where the champions live. Everything you cannot see will run and dictate everything that you can see. So this is where the champions live, but it's intangible. I can't see it, so we don't work on it. I see this with kids all the time. What do we got to do to get better grades? We got to study harder. We got to work harder. study harder, work harder. We're focusing here, but we're not changing how that child thinks and feels about education and learning. It will be short-lived. This is willpower here. This is mental conditioning here. This is where the champions live. The basis of everything that I do, just like I am grateful for the dirty dishes to clean and scrub because it means that I have enough to eat. Everything starts here. So this is the foundation of everything for me. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm going to share with you. And you may have heard of this before, but it's called the reticular activating system. And it's going to pull out what's relevant to me. So there's a part of our brainstem, that will literally pull out what's relevant to us. So for example, when I started speaking, I wore long sleeve shirts and I'm a warm blooded dude. So I was sweating a lot and I was on stage and I would just be like black sweat, like gross, disgusting black sweat. And people in the front row would literally hand me water being like, are you okay? So I was like, man, that's embarrassing. I got to find some sweat wicking clothes. A friend of mine took me to Lululemon and I spent 5 hours at Lululemon because I liked their clothes and I learned about sweat wicking. I was like, oh, I can sweat and it absorbs it. So I spent like 5 hours there because I don't like shopping. And my idea of shopping is going to Kohl's with my mother. So I'm like, I'm doing this once. I threw out all my clothes and I got all Lululemon clothes. After that experience, which was very meaningful to me, I noticed the little Lululemon emblem everywhere. At the gym and business meetings, I noticed it everywhere. So I always ask, was that emblem always there? Or was it just a coincidence now that I was seeing it? And the answer, it was always there. And a phenomenon that people usually bring up is like a car. When you want to go buy a car or you're trying to get a car, you finally get that car, you see that car everywhere. Another thing is like when women are pregnant for the first time, they say they never notice pregnant women. But then when they become pregnant, they notice pregnant women everywhere. It's not a coincidence. It's literally a piece of our brain. So if that's the case, and that's being programmed, what am I programming myself for? Am I programming myself for bullshit and lack? Am I complaining? Am I bitching all the time? Well, that's what I'm going to get more of. Not from woo-woo, not from the spiritual side, from the brain and science side. Or am I programming myself for abundance, prosperity, happiness, gratitude? If we want to run a business that's a multi-million-dollar business and I'm only making $200,000 a year, and I want to get into that multiple seven figures, and a multiple seven-figure idea comes by, and I'm programmed for 200,000, it's going to go right over me. I'm never going to notice it because my brain won't pull it out because of this little thing right here. So this is how we start to work on mental conditioning. We also can talk about the conscious mind to the subconscious mind. Conscious mind is going to program the subconscious, and the subconscious runs everything, absolutely everything, your decision-making, your emotions, everything, okay? So, this guy changed my life, whether you like him or not, but if he tells me all change must happen on a subconscious level, I'm not going to question that guy. So this is the way, simply, and I will also want to share this very simply, those chemicals, good chemicals, bad chemicals in the brain, good ones, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. I'll say that again. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, the good stuff, they make us feel good. And then the bad stuff, adrenaline, epinephrine, cortisol. These things are poison. That means every single thought that we think every single day is going to either empower us, or fuel us for energy, or fuel us for disease. That is how powerful the thoughts that we think consistently and program are going to affect us in our life, with our loved ones, and in our business. Okay? So this is just an example of the way I like to wake up. So I am grateful, I am excited, I am proud, I'm grateful for my pulse. There were people who had goals and dreams yesterday that didn't make it till today. If people ever want a conversion of energy, look up Viktor Frankl and Man's Search for Meaning. And that dude, just have a little understanding of what he went through, and it puts everything in perspective. So there were people that had goals and dreams yesterday. They didn't make it till today. We did. We're 1 in 400 trillion to be born. Let's honor that. What greatness do we have within us? I'm excited to share my vision with the world. I am proud of my ability to convert energy from negative to positive. And then I'm excited, I'm grateful, I'm excited, I'm proud. I enjoy the persistent pursuit of my potential. I ask for help, I offer help. Now, before we pick this thing up, which I think is a great thing, I don't think technology is killing us. I think it's user error, just like everything else. But before I pick this thing up, why don't I partake in the programming? Why don't I say to you and say, Ricky, I'm going to program you before I get programmed by the emails, the text messages, the clients, the the things that can really stress us out or create fear. I'm going to partake. Now I don't have to react the whole day. Now I respond from a mental conditioning standpoint. Now, I don't know if anybody is a fan of Muhammad Ali, but this guy knew something about something. He knew something about winning. He knew something about adversity. He knew something about creating greatness in the world, in my opinion. If he says the repetition of affirmations that leads to belief, and once that belief becomes a deep conviction, I'm not going to argue with the guy. I'm just going to work on the things that I'm telling myself to live a happier, more fulfilled life. For me, it comes down to that simplicity. And for people who don't think that this is this powerful, let me share with you a $100 million company that was based on this exact simplicity. So Life is Good is 100, now it's probably even more, $100 million company. And it started with their mother saying, tell me something good that happened today. So I just wanted, there's a $100 million company. This little video I watch all the time. I want to play it. It's about 2 minutes and 45 seconds, so it's quick, but just give this a listen. And if you just go through a quick morning routine or watch something like this and you have better input is better output. So give this a little quick listen.
Every morning, all of us wake up with a choice to focus on what's wrong in our lives or what's right in our lives. And optimism can take you anywhere.
Like most people, when we got out of college, we really had no idea what we were going to do. But both John and I were interested in doing something artistic.
In other words, avoid getting a real job. So we designed a few shirts and we got out on the streets of Boston and just started hawking them wherever there was foot traffic.
About a year in, we bought a used van called the Enterprise.
We told each other we would boldly go where no t-shirt guys had gone before.
One day, we had this conversation about how the media inundates us with negative information.
And we wondered if we could create a rallying cry for optimists. 3 simple words: life is good. We printed up our first Life is Good t-shirts and we took them to a street fair.
We sold 48 t-shirts in 45 minutes.
It was like, wow, this is what we've been hoping for all those years, and it was instantaneous. We realized we just gotta open up and listen to people, is what they love to do. Swimming, hiking, hanging out with your family, going on road trips, adventures. Let's celebrate these things together. Meanwhile, something way more significant starts to happen. We start getting letters from people going through great adversity, people losing loved ones, people battling cancer. Realizing that we were actually helping people get through these difficult times, it gave our whole brand a deeper meaning and a deeper purpose.
10% of our net profits, no matter what, go to the Kids Foundation.
Kids are the ultimate optimists. And we realize there's a lot of kids dealing with poverty, violence, illness, circumstances way beyond their control. So we created the Life's Good Kids Foundation to help kids heal from various forms of trauma so that they can discover the power of optimism.
We're really just getting warmed up. It's taken us over 20 years to get here, but we've got a great brand and we've got a great community.
They co-write the story with us every day.
We're still talking about gratitude and courage and simplicity. The message is the same. The values are the same.
Can you make the shift to focus on gratitude? That's what optimism is all about. It's not that everything is always great. Life is not easy. Life is not perfect, but life is good.
And I love that video. So I have a question. If you woke up with just some simple programming and you put some input into your life, like that video, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it doesn't have to be that video, it can be anything, but better input, better equals better output. But your goal shouldn't be better output. Your goal should be a better feeling and fulfillment. That is where this really goes. And it really is a rallying cry for optimism, because my goodness, do we need that now? It's easy to thrive when it's all rainbows and ice cream. Now, if we truly believe strength grows through struggle, what an opportunity do we have in the world today, right now? So the people that I'm around, it's like, man, what an unbelievable opportunity in the world right now, because most people are freaking out and they're thinking of lack, they're thinking of fear, which is valid. I don't want to say it's not valid. That is valid. But now my point is, so now what? So what do? Do we dive down the rabbit hole of I can't, fear, lack, minimalism? Or do we say, how can I win, and ask for help? By the way, I think asking for help is the greatest skill on the planet. So, and these are just some, I'll give you just some best practices if you want to take a little screenshot of this or a picture or whatever. But all of these things, it's amazing how we program ourselves on a minimalistic programming every day. Instead of saying at least, say I'm glad that. You know, I was an offender bender, at least I wasn't hurt. I'm glad that I wasn't hurt. There's different energies. When we talk about energies and frequencies and vibrations, that stuff is real. So everything that we thought, everything that we think is an energy. We're energetic electrical beings living in an energetic electrical universe. And our health and vitality depends on that energy. It's an inside job. And more importantly, it's an inside job here. So I can't. Well, what we're really saying is I choose. I can't is slave mentality, victim mentality, because you're saying I can't depending on some outside factor, okay? I don't have time. Well, what do I have the time for? A little bit, a lot, not a lot, a little bit. And when you want to scale any business, it's about consistency. A little bit, a lot, not a lot, a little bit. I can't afford it. How can I afford it? It just redirects your focus. That's saying that energy flows where attention goes. It's corny and trite because it's real. It's true. So that's one thing that I work on every day. And that gratitude poem I have read every single day, except for two, every single day except for two, since July 1st, 2015. And it's a game changer for me. So something so simple, people say, how can it be that impactful? Because I did it every day, with the exception of two. One was on my birthday, one was on January 6th in Australia, and one was at the Super Bowl, January 7th. Let's just say I had a couple of late nights. I didn't get my gratitude poem in. And I'm gonna give you guys one last hack here, and then I do wanna open it up to Q&A. And I'm usually on Zooms with a few hundred people. So people jump out with questions. It's a little bit smaller Zoom. So I want people to think about questions that they're gonna have. That to me is the number one thing in learning and influence. So whenever I go somewhere, I want to ask a question for sure. So my last little hack is I always ask people, I'm in a live audience, so raise your hand if you've had somebody help you with some aspect of your life. And then I say, raise your hand if you've ever helped somebody with something else. So we're all mentors and we're all mentees, because of course everybody's hands goes up. So one thing that you guys can do today is basically on an iPhone or an Android, create an album, a photo album, call it I Am Great. Anytime somebody has thanked you or said job well done or said I appreciate you, anything, it doesn't matter if you've changed their life. It can be if you smiled at them and they said thank you. Screenshot it, put it in that album. Now when the shitstorm comes, now when the challenges come, I have a tangible tool to look at, read, remind me of my greatness, and change my neurochemistry, change my biochemistry, and change biological reactions in my cell of what's going on. Can't be grateful and fearful at the same time. I'm going to choose gratitude every single time, and that choice is up to me. So I'll give you an example. This was, probably 8 years ago now. This guy had never made more than $30,000 in a year. He was divorced. He wanted to take his daughter and niece on this Disney cruise. I don't know nothing about Disney. I don't have kids. I'm not married. What I do know is it's very, very expensive from the people that have told me. Let's see if anybody's on mute. I think somebody is on mute, Mary, if you can see who it is. And so I have this still in I have 2 albums now. And he said, Ricky, want to share something with you, bro. Took my daughter and niece on that Disney cruise. Just wanted to thank you for helping me with my goals and all your support. I wouldn't have been able to do so if you yourself wouldn't have worked as hard as you did to give me and us an opportunity to work with you. I appreciate you, Rick. Thanks again, brother. I still read that to this day because it reminds me that I facilitated a higher quality of life. And it doesn't have to be big or small. The scale is irrelevant. But now I read that. And now when I go through a shitstorm, I can read that, I can feel better and continue on my path to where I want to go. It's just rerouting. It's just course correction. That's all it is. But people don't use these things. They don't use thank you notes. They don't use those. But you know what they're very good at? Telling me with excruciating detail of everything they screwed up, at everything that went wrong, and everything that they contributed that's not right in their life. I do see in the chat, can you put up your gratitude poem again? So just go to, Mary, if you can write this, gratitudepoem.com. You can download it for free. It just comes in a PDF. Again, that's gratitudepoem.com. So here's an example of my I Am Great album. And everyone says this guy was pretty smart, okay? So if he tells me education is not the learning of facts, but of training the mind to think, I'm just gonna train my brain to think in a way that empowers me, in a way that serves me. And this is why this is applicable to whether you're an agent, a broker, whatever your business is, but especially in real estate, because we can get kicked in the teeth so many times when it's commission only, or it basically is based on production, which I love. I think base salaries and those kinds of things, I think they're caps. So that's why I'm a huge real estate fan. That's why I work with a lot of real estate companies, whether it's consulting or coaching or whatever it is. So if that guy tells me that, I'm just gonna listen. So here's some implementational things. You can take a screenshot of it, but I always say, if you do these things, man, they lead you down a rabbit hole. This is not a one-stop shop. This is something you want to continue for every single day in your life, whether it's 5 seconds a day, but do it every day. Do something every day. Shoot, put up one Post-it note a day. I am great. It can be so small in scale. Scale is irrelevant. Consistency is where the juice lies, okay? And then this is a question I always like to ask. What will you contribute to the world? We start asking that question, we carry a different energy, we carry a different aura. And this is a magnanimous type question. It doesn't have to be magnanimous in scale. I'll give you an example. So part of my bigger vision is to help solve the world's happiness problem. But a lot of things though, I live in Marina del Rey, California. I'm a block from the ocean, the marina's right here. And I go running along the beach all the time. And you can see it out here. California, man, we have some interesting things going on with our governor and with our sheriffs and lockdowns and all kinds of stuff. Regardless, you can see fear in people's faces. So when I go run along the ocean, you can see it. You can see it, you can feel it. So one of the things that I try to do, or I intend to do, and I implement, is when I'm running and I see that, I got big chubby cheeks. So when I smile, I have a big smile. And I'll smile at somebody as I'm running by them. I'll give them a thumbs up and I'll be like, we got this. That's my contribution in the world. It doesn't have to be magnanimous. When next time you're in a drive-through, for $5 or whatever, pay for the person behind you. These little tiny random acts of kindness. It's all energy and it comes back to us. So instead of being in a state of scarcity and lack and minimalism and fear and all that garbage, you want to talk about pandemics? Let's talk about pandemics. Let's talk about limiting beliefs. Let's talk about negativity. Let's talk about I don't have the time. Let's talk about I don't have the money. Let's talk about I don't have the energy. Those limiting beliefs have killed more goals and dreams than coronavirus ever will, hands down. And it's been doing so for hundreds of years, okay? So my 2 favorite words, and I'll end it with this, is thank you. So I don't think we can say thank you enough. It's the first thing I say when I wake up. It's the last thing I say before I go to bed. So I want to thank you guys for having me, and thank you to Mary. And I'd love to, I'd love to do more stuff. And everybody has, Mary, remind me, I'll send that, let me stop the share here. Remind me and I'll send that cleanse over. A lot of people ask me about that, and I'll just send that to you guys for free. And if anybody is interested, I have things that I can give you for free. I have things that are at a very low investment level, and then things that are higher ticket in terms of health and wellness, because I always get those questions. And then the gratitudepoem.com is something that people just go and get their free gratitude poem. But again, thank you guys. I'm a big fan of HCAR and Mary, and it's been fun collaborating with you in the last, whatever it's been, 9 months, 10 months, something like that. But I'm happy to open it up to Q&A, whether you unmute yourself or anything, or you can drop it in the chat. But Mary, if you want to moderate or however you guys want to do it, I'm happy. We got another maybe 15 minutes, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
We're getting a lot of thank you. And it is, you're a very uplifting person, I have to say, because, especially in these times, I don't know what it's like in California. Here in New York, it's maybe getting a little bit better with the pandemic, but you're still hearing like horrible. I've gotten to the point where I don't even want to read a lot of stories in the newspaper, because it brings you down. you know, and it's a reality, you have to deal with it, but I think you can't let it absorb your whole day, you know.
Absolutely.
But if anybody has any questions, if you could put them in the chat, that would be great. I just, for you, Ricky, how do you keep, I mean, all your advice is wonderful and we all want to try to implement that, but do you ever have days where you're like, ugh, you know, I don't feel like saying thankful. I don't feel like saying I'm great. What do you do? How do you get yourself out of that funk?
Yeah. First of all, I want people to understand every day, I have challenges just like everybody else every single day. This is what I am a little bit more proficient in than most people. So when something happens, maybe it stresses us, maybe it gives us fear, maybe it's disappointing, whatever it is, that can piss us off for a couple minutes, a couple hours, 10 hours, a day, 2 days, a week, a couple weeks, a month, and you see where I go with that. All I'm good at is taking that time now and shortening it. So I don't sit with it too long. It still happens. It happens all the time. I'm going through a major challenge with my business and a couple people that are working with me. It's just not, I'm just not letting it affect it longer time. But I've also worked on this for 5 years and I've read that gratitude poem. This is why I say start small. I'll even show you guys this. So I started this small. I read a quote every day for 90 days that took about 8 seconds because I couldn't do it for 30 days. So I started with 8 seconds a day. Now my morning routine, it can range anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes. But people think they're going to start with a 20-minute visualization. It's just not scalable. And we're thinking scale, not consistency. So all I've done was been able to shorten that time frame. So yes, that happens to me all the time. So just remember 2 things. Number 1, universe does not reward scale. And 2, do something. If you're going through a shitstorm, go look up impact theory. Some of my biggest mentors, Tom Bilyeu, Lisa Bilyeu, David Meltzer, John Assaraf, Lisa Nichols, Shanda Sumter, Karolina Protsenko. Look up Karolina Protsenko. She's a 12-year-old girl who plays the electric violin. She is adorable and awesome. You can't not be in a good state of mind watching her play the violin. I think she has like 5 million on YouTube or something. I've interviewed her a bunch of times. So yeah, just that's what I want people to understand. It's just about shortening that time, and that takes practice.
There's quite a few questions about dealing with other people in your life, a parent or a spouse that doesn't have, that has a negative energy, and how to cope with them.
100%. And I get this a lot. And I also see one about teenage boys from Sonia. Thanks, Sonia. And I'll address both of these. So in terms of anybody that's around you, we cannot force them to think a certain way. We cannot force them to feel a certain way. We cannot control them. The one thing we have control about is us and what we think. So for example, and it's a lot more challenging, obviously, when it is a family member, right? For me personally, what I would do is I am going to take care of me. And that sounds like when you have children. I don't have children, so I can't even identify with that. But there's a reason. Lisa Nichols, one of my favorite female mentors, she says, give from your saucer. You can't give what you don't have, okay? So that's number 1. I got to take care of me, then I can take care of other people. There's a reason why they tell you to put the mask on the airplane for you first and then help others. So I'm going to take care of me. How am I going to do that? I'm going to have better input. Regardless of what other people do, I'm going to put good input into me, whether that's watching something online, whether that's a 3-minute video, whether that's impact theory, whether it's Googling benefits of a positive mindset, whether it's Googling motivation, whatever it is. I do that again and again and again. Now I'm independent of feeling a certain way because somebody else feels a certain way. Most of the time, not all the time, a lot of the time, when you're in an energy that people want to be a part of, they start joining in. 2 things are going to happen. They're going to join in or they're not going to join in. Either way is irrelevant because I'm going to make myself feel good. Okay. Now I'm saying this with a lens that I'm not married. Okay. But I've done this with many very close family relationships. And it's the only way we can ever help somebody else is to help ourselves first. It's not selfish. It's the best way to actually create change, in my opinion. Teenage boys. Like that video, kids are the eternal optimists. Kids can turn quick if we give them good input. Anything, and I coach kids now, and that's one of the greatest things about COVID. A lot of kids are confused out there, and it led to my coaching to be, now I have a number of clients that are kids anywhere ages from literally 8 years old to 17 years old. And with teenagers, it's just introducing a different way of thinking. Now, again, my go-tos, that's why we live in the greatest time to be alive. I can Google and put myself in front of positive stuff anytime I want. Social media is great if I use it for good. Social media is horrendous if I use it for crap. So again, I go to my mentors, Tom Bilyeu, Lisa Bilyeu, David Meltzer, John Assaraf. I have them in front of me. I surround myself with things that make me smile and things that remind me of where I want to go. That's 7.36. That's where my health needs to be. It's the most important number in our biology, okay? Acidity and alkalinity. So teenagers, just a simple introduction to a 3-minute video, a 4-minute video that serves them, and ask them, what do you think? That's why the gratitude is so powerful, because it creates a different dialogue between parent and child. Ask them, do you know what gratitude means? Maybe they say yes, maybe they say no. If they say yes, ask them what their interpretation is. If they say no, what a great opportunity to have an unbelievable conversation between parent and child that changes the dynamic of from panic and fear to greatness, in my opinion. So that's how I would look at whether it's a spouse, you know, or a child or teenager. So hopefully that helps a little bit and makes sense.
And Ricky,
Sorry, I have a
sorry.
I have a question I didn't put in the chat. We're in the business that 95% of the market share is controlled with very small percentage, let's say like 5%. That's what. So you have a lot of envy as you know, emotional state of being in this business. How do you control that? How do you, you know, someone has a better listing or has a more list, you know, like we are talking about real estate now. So how do you control envy as a very negative and poisonous, you know, feeling?
Yeah. Number one, so, and this is, Mary, I'd love to do this, is I do specific, this, everything I've chatted about, now I can gear it towards an industry. Number one, if somebody is doing something that I want to do, I take envy. If I had to go basis here, envy low energy. If somebody has something that I want to do, number one, they're telling me it's possible. It's been done. So number one, I know it's possible that I can go from where I am to where they are. Somebody's done it. Two, I ask for help. I ask for help every way in my business. So what you find is when you ask for help, more times than not all the time, more times than not, the people that are doing the best, they're willing to share what they do. Not all the time, but sometimes. I will share anything with any of my competitors that have helped my life. Anytime. The thing is, we don't find that out because we're scared to ask. So for me, in real estate, if there's somebody that's crushing, I'm gonna say, hey, can I ask you some questions? You've inspired me to up-level my game, okay? Now, if they're not willing to help, then I'm gonna find mentorship to get to where I wanna go. I look at mentorship as, do I like them? Do I trust them? Do they sit in the position that I wanna sit in from a mental standpoint? And then I pay them. That's how I look at it. So I've spent, in 2019, I spent $100,000 to be the dumbest and brokest person in the room because there were people making a lot more money than me and making a bigger impact in the world. And I said, I want to make a bigger impact. In my influence, my arena, I was typically, quote unquote, however we define success, the most successful or having the most growth. And I was like, man, if I'm at the top level in my group, it's time to find a new group. Not that I'm ever not going to be friends with my friends, but I needed to invest in my mind to get to the skill set to where I wanted to go. So from a real estate perspective or any business perspective, I'm going to find people that have sat in the place that I want to, for me personally, in the mental standpoint, then business, because I think this will run your business. And I'm going to find somebody, I'm going to ask for help, and then I'm going to invest in myself. And that's coming from somebody that overall has probably spent multiple 6 figures on their brain to get where I want to go in business. Does that make sense, Tasha? Good. Okay. Awesome. I got about 5 minutes, Mary. I can take like another one or maybe two questions.
There was one question, and I think you actually talked about this at Members Day as well, on the wall, this 7.36. What does that mean?
So yeah, and this is a super passion of mine, and it's funny, and I'll have to jump off after this, but I just want to say again, thanks for having me. And Mary, I can send you this video if you want to send to everybody. I'll send you the cleanse for sure. 7.36 is the most important number in your body. When that number moves, we die. It's the pH level of your blood. It's far more important than the temperature, 98.6. So we have a buffering system. Our bodies are acidic. And when we drink things that are acidic, when we eat things that are acidic, the red blood cells, they have a negative charge, and the negative charge keeps them from they keep bouncing off each other, which is good because it has nutrients and oxygen, and we want them to move to our brain, to our body. The second we become acidic, strips that negative charge, red blood cells clump together, they morph, they die, it creates yeast and candida in the blood. Now the body has to use all these buffering systems. It has to find magnesium, potassium, calcium, and sodium to negate the acid, okay? Our bodies get depleted of its reserves. Now the body has to go in overdrive. It's why it hangs on to fat, because it stores the acid in fat. It's why it raises cholesterol in many cases, because it's a binding agent to protect our vital organs from the acid. So I test the pH of my body. I test my saliva, I test my urine. It's the most important number, but when we understand just a little bit about acidity and alkalinity, we can really start to dictate. And because marketers and branders are so good, they just sell alkalinity. If anybody out there is drinking essential water, please stop drinking essential water. They put fake inorganic minerals to raise the pH just like they do in pools, so it can trick the test because everybody's searching alkaline water. Marketers know this and they know how to get around that. And then they're charging 2,000% more. I've gone, if anybody wants to talk water, I've gone on a massive water journey. We're electrical beings, and water is the conduit in which that electricity happens. But that number is where our blood will regulate, unless if it doesn't, we die. So how do we make sure that that doesn't happen? We add to our buffering systems magnesium, potassium, calcium of actually absorbable things, or the foods that we eat or the water we drink can help those buffering systems. So I know that's a lot, but I'm super passionate about that. And I got led to that because of the gratitude poem. Whole different story, but and Mary, I can send, I'll send you the cleanse, and I can send you a video in that same email. Feel free to send it out, and I'm happy to answer any questions at all.
And I have actually from last time, I have the gratitude poem that I can send out to people too. And I just wanted to there was a couple people that wanted to know how to get in touch with you. So do you want to give out your website or your email before we go?
Yeah, I'll give away everything. So my Instagram is Ricky Mendez Speaks. My email is ricky@rickymendez.com, RICKY, and then MENDZ. I'll just write it in the chat. And my phone number, I give out my phone number to everybody. So it's area code 978-886-0043. So 978-886-0043. There's my cell. There's my email. Instagram is Ricky Mendez Speaks. And feel free to ask any questions that you want. And Mary, as always, it was awesome to see you, and thanks for having me.
You too. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure, and we always come away with something that that we can learn and practice. And thank you all for joining us for Breakfast with Benefits. And we, Ricky, if it's okay with you, we recorded this. If it's okay for us to send this out to everyone, just give us some time on this because we have to convert it over to YouTube. But thank you, everyone, and thank you, Ricky, and everybody. Go out and have a great day because we're all great, right? Right.
I love it. Great seeing everybody. Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.